Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inshallah, we will begin with the recitation of the Quran by Hafiz Simal.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد آتينا داود منا فضلا يا جبال أوبي معه والطير وألنا له الحديد أن اعمل سابغات وقدر في السرد واعملوا صالحا إني بما تعملون بصير. ولسليمان الريح غدوها شهر ورواحها شهر وأسلنا له عين القطر ومن الجن من يعمل بين يديه بإذن ربه ومن يزغ منهم عن أمرنا نذقه من عذاب السعير. يعملون له ما يشاء من محاريب وتماثيل وجفان كالجواب وقدور الراسيات. اعملوا آل داود شكرا وقليل من عبادي الشكور. فلما قضينا عليه الموت ما دلهم على موته إلا دابة الأرض تأكل من سأته فلما خر تبينت الجن أن لو كانوا يعلمون الغيب ما لبثوا في العذاب المهين. صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair, mashallah, for that beautiful recitation. Inshallah, I'd like to introduce our special guest speaker, Mawlāna Asif Uddin, who is a professor at Darul Qasim in Chicago. And Mawlāna Asif Uddin, he began his quest of knowledge by memorizing the Quran in the Institute of Islamic Education in Chicago, IIE. And after finishing his memorization of the Quran, he went on to study the Islamic sciences, and he got a master's degree in Arabic and Islamic sciences. And after that, he went on to study qiraat and recitation of the Quran as well. And after that, also, he went on to study nutrition as well, and is a certified health coach. And Mawlāna has been teaching in Darul Qasim, and we'd like to request him to come. This is a very important and special opportunity for us that Mawlāna has come here, and inshallah he will talk about the Islamic perspective of gender interaction.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا صدق الله العظيم. MashaAllah, I wanted to first thank the entire community of Masjid Zakaria, Mawlāna Shadman, Mawlāna Kamran, for allowing me to come here from Chicago. The weather over there is about 20 degrees, so mashallah, we're definitely a good time to come here, mashallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed Muslims across the globe. And here in America, alhamdulillah, we have the opportunity to come pray when we want to pray. We have a masjid, we have a community center. MashaAllah, Mawlāna was showing me the masjid and the building that you all have. It's honestly, MashaAllah, it brought such happiness to my heart to see all of the different programs that you all have here. MashaAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in your leaders, in your volunteers, in the board members, and everybody involved here. This is, mashallah, it's a beautiful thing to witness. My topic for today is about gender relations and the prophetic model in regards to that. I see quite a bit of youth here, so you all like stories, right? Stories? Okay. So one day, one of my friends, he was registering for college classes a few years back, and he texted me with the caption, just, "Oh boy." That's all he wrote. And then he took a screenshot of what he was talking about. And in there, it gave a whole list of all the genders that he could choose from. A list of all the genders that he should choose from. Suffice to say, there were more than 2 on that list. Our discussion for today is not going to be about these so-called genders that individuals may try to create wherever they may be, because as all of humanity knows, there's only 2 genders. You got males and females, and that's it. You can go ahead and create other genders, but you're not tricking anybody with that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in Surah Nisa that خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, that we have all been created from Adam and Hawa alayhim as-salam. No. We have males and we have females. Very simple, not complicated at all. And every aspect of our lives, we try to, one way or another, base it off the Quran or the Sunnah. And our understanding of the different roles as human beings is based off of wahi as well, based off of the Quran and Sunnah as well. So whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, we pay special attention to. Because He doesn't mention everything in the Quran. Every single detail of how you need to live is not mentioned in the Quran. That's why we have the Sunnah as well. But what He does mention in the Quran, we pay special heed to. So He mentions that فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا وَضَعَتْ وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. That males have certain physical characteristics which females do not have those characteristics, and vice versa. So the male is not like the female. So the male is not like the female, completely different. And the beauty of the Quran is that it allows us to connect with it on many different levels. The Quran is a timeless book with timeless lessons. And a young child, as you see in the masjid, they can connect with the Quran at their level. An adult who may have been studying and reading and listening to tafsir or the scholars here can connect with the Quran at another level. Be it a PhD student, can spend years focusing on one word of the Quran. The miracles within it are endless. Because it's not a book that's for a specific time frame. It's until Qiyamah. And in there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about stories. And He says about stories, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. That we have stories in the Quran. So that when you read these stories and you listen to these stories and you try to understand these stories, you take some lessons from it. Those that are smart, they gain lessons from these stories. So the first story that I want to talk about is the story of Prophet Musa. Prophet Musa with the daughters of Shu'aib alayhi salam. So let's see together how many lessons we can derive just from one story. Okay. I teach throughout the week, so I'm used to like a classroom setting. I'm not just used to just lecturing the whole time. That's not me. So I'm just going to ask you guys questions. Especially when you're falling asleep, I'm going to ask you even more questions just to make sure you're awake. Okay. Then, just in case for backup, I have some water over here too, so I might need to use this. Okay. So we have the story of Musa alayhi salam and the daughters of Shu'aib alayhi salam. So Musa alayhi salam, he set out from Egypt towards Madian, which is roughly about an 8-day journey. He didn't have any GPS. He didn't have anybody giving many directions. All he had was tawakkul. How would we translate that? He gave me some extra ammunition. You know where it came from. Oh. So, tawakkul. Can somebody tell me what does this word tawakkul mean? Anybody? I'm not moving forward until I hear anything. Yeah, Bismillah. Trusting upon Allah? No. Okay, have complete reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Good. Yes, these are concepts within tawakkul. So when Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the story. He says, وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ قَالَ عَسَى رَبِّي أَن يَهْدِيَنِي سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. We can talk about tawakkul, but that's not the topic here. But I just wanted to give you a question just to warm up. Huh? But he had this utmost reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was a Nabi. How could he not? Right. How could he not? But when we go to this story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks and he says that وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ ووجد من دونهم امرأتين تذودان قال ما خطبكما قالتا لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء وأبونا شيخ كبير. Musa alayhi salam, he goes and he notices people are fetching water from the well. And they're getting it for their flock of animals. And he's looking and looking and he sees in the background there's these two females. They have their flock, but they're kind of staying in the back, not by the crowd of all these males. So he thought maybe, something happened, they needed help, or Allah Alam. So he goes up to them and he asked them, everybody else is fetching water from the well, why aren't you two getting water from the well as well? So the sisters responded, they were sisters, right? So they responded that we didn't want to have any intermingling taking place between the genders, with females, with males. So that's why we're waiting over here. So lesson number one. Lesson number one is we see how Musa alayhi salam interacted with the opposite gender. He only came and he interacted with them in a modest way for a legitimate reason, to see if they needed any help, to see if they needed any assistance, why they were on the back. So he came up to them and he asked, how could he be of any assistance and what was going on? So the question arises here that, in this story, why aren't the males of that family, why aren't they doing their job? Why aren't they fetching the water? Why aren't they fetching the water? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers that question. He said, وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. He's an elderly father, right? Elderly father. He could only do so much work. Okay. So the daughters went out and were doing this work. So lesson number two is that we have women, we have sisters, that they are working within their scope of practice. Women within the community working within their scope of practice. We need to remove this, Western mentality from our Islamic circles that women need to do the exact same women need to do the exact same work as men. That they're absolutely equal in every aspect. We can't forget, what did we just talk about? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated, وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. Men are not like women and women are not like men. Don't try to come here and say that they need to do the same exact job, or they need to play the exact same sports, or they need to do whatever, just like the males do. It's not how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created every single situation. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. Okay. Sisters have qualities that brothers cannot even imagine, and brothers have qualities that sisters cannot even imagine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created their fitrah in different ways. Just look how if you go to any elementary school, I taught in the public schools for quite a few years. And when I was there, you know how many male teachers were there at the elementary school? K through 5. Guess how many male teachers were there? Well, I was there. Come on. Besides me. What? Yeah, he's right. It was just me and the gym teacher. That was it. Just me and the PE teacher. That was it. There was another guy, but he acted like a woman, so I didn't count him. Right? There was basically just 2 or 3 of us in the entire school. In the entire school. Okay. So I saw firsthand, I witnessed firsthand, the reason for that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created within the women such a fitrah, such a compassion for children, to be able to still have their sanity when you have 30 kids and spending 7-8 hours with them in one little room. Us males sometimes, even if it's our own kids, sometimes we can't spend more than half an hour with them, an hour with them. I'm kidding. But it happens. Right? It happens. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the fitrah of a woman in a special way, in a unique way, and the fitrah of a man in a very special and unique fashion. So going back to the story of Musa alayhi salam, he went ahead and he helped them fetch some water. Okay, and once he got the water for them, there was a tree there, and he just took some shade there underneath that tree. So the sisters, they went back home, and the father asked, time is, how'd you come back so early? You usually come back hours later. How did you come back so early? So they explained, there was a man that helped us out at the well. He helped fetch water for us because there are other males there, and we were able to go on with our way. So after the sisters mentioned the story to their father, what was the father's name again? Shu'aib alayhi salam. Okay. Shu'aib alayhi salam. No. So Shu'aib alayhi salam told one of the sisters to go call that man, to go call Musa alayhi salam. Okay. And they went ahead and called Musa alayhi salam. So when Musa alayhi salam, you just pay attention to the different aspects of the story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions. Very unique. You wouldn't even think about this. You don't even think about this as part of the story. But how did they walk? How did they walk? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَجَاءَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ. That the daughter, when she went to go call Musa alayhi salam, when they're on their way back, she walked in a modest fashion. She walked guarding her modesty. Guarding her modesty. She had that confidence to go to Musa alayhi salam alone because her father Shu'aib alayhi salam told her, and had that same confidence, in her, that he has the ability to go to Musa alayhi salam and speak to him in an unflirtatious manner. She went there, called him, and came back. So no, flirtation was taking place. She did what she needed to do, the job that she was asked to do. She went ahead and she did that. No hijab at this time. Hijab, even in Islam, was mandated after the hijrah anyways. But keep in mind, this natural instinct of hijab, this natural instinct of modesty was present. That's why the sisters, you saw in the beginning of the story, they did not intermingle with the opposite gender. They did not intermingle with the opposite gender. You saw that. So Musa alayhi salam, he accepted the invitation. And obviously, he didn't know where they lived. Right? He didn't know where Shuaib alayhi salam lived. So the daughter had to lead the way. And Musa alayhi salam was in the back. And Imam Nasafi, a famous mufassir, he kind of describes the scene there as they're coming back to the house. He states, فَأَلْزَقَتِ الرِّيحُ ثَوْبَهَا بِجَسَدِهَا فَوَصَفَتْهُ فَقَالَ لَهَا إِمْشِي خَلْفِي وَانْعِتِي لِي الطَّرِيقِ. Imam Nasafi says that Musa alayhi salam, when they were walking back to the house, that the wind blew against her body and revealed aspects of her physique. And when that occurred, Musa alayhi salam said, okay, we have to think of something else. So he said, I don't know the way, but what we'll do is I'll walk ahead and you give directions from the back. Okay? You give directions from the back. So there was ghadul basar taking place, lowering of the gaze that was taking place. Okay, so she was giving directions from the back. So that's lesson number 3. Yeah. Lesson number 3 is that you lower your gaze in a sensible manner when dealing with the opposite gender. We live in America. I can't say that you don't deal with the opposite gender. It's going to happen. Whether here, whether at school, whether at work, whether you're in the store, you're going to have to deal with the opposite gender. It's not I cannot say that, okay, just not interact with them at all and you're going to be able to, get along with your life. It's just not going to work. You're living in a non-Muslim country. You have to understand the context here. Okay. You have to understand the context here. So this applies to both males and females. Now, this doesn't apply to just the males, where you will say, okay, they can, females can see them, but they can't see the females. No, it applies to both genders, males and females. So when they reach the residence of Shuaib alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, he began telling Shuaib alayhi salam the desperate situation that he was in. That he was dealing with Fir'aun and basically getting kicked out and being homeless. So during this conversation, the daughter, which the Mufassirun mentioned that her name was Safra, who brought Musa alayhi salam to the house, she suggested to Shuaib alayhi salam that we should hire him. As a worker, we should hire Musa alayhi salam. Why? Two qualities. That he is trustworthy, and he is, what's the other quality mentioned in the ayah? Qawi, strong, strong. So trustworthy and strong. Trustworthy, why? Because he only interacted with the daughter at the time of need for a legitimate reason, as we talked about. And then also lowering the gaze when they were just walking back to the house. Strong, why? Because there was a cover that was on the well, which usually takes a good 10 people to lift. He lifted it by himself. So that's the strength of a Nabi. They don't just have strength up here. They have that physical strength as well. The mu'jizat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted them as well. The prophets, there are role models in every facet of life. Not just when we come to the masjid. Not when we're at home. But anywhere and everywhere, from the time we go to sleep until the time we wake up, they are all role models. These are our Anbiya. So he lifted that rock. trustworthy and strong. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiallahu anhu, who you all know about, is a great Sahabi of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He stated that أحسن الناس فراسة ثلاثة, that there are three individuals who have the most foresight. He said, number one, Al-Aziz حين تفرس في يوسف فقال عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا. Number one is the governor of Egypt when he looked carefully at Yusuf alayhi salam, and he said that perhaps, he will benefit us. Maybe we can adopt him and take him as a child. Individual number two who had a lot of foresight. He said that بنت شعيب حين قالت لأبيها في موسى استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. The daughter of Musa alayhi salam, what was her name again? Safra. She said to her father that hire him because he is strong and trustworthy. And individual number three, who is known for his foresight, is Abu Bakr حين استخلف عمر. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he appointed Umar radiallahu anhu to be the Khalifa. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he appointed Umar radiallahu anhu to be the Khalifa. So going back to what Safra said. What was Safra hinting towards? She said this sentence, but what was she really saying? The fathers might know. Fathers might know. So she was hinting towards that he may be somebody suitable for marriage. He may be somebody suitable to get married to. But look at how she put that request in. Look at the style of the request. Look at the haya in the request itself. How much modesty was in there. And how Shu'aib alayhi salam understood between the lines what she was actually trying to say. What was she trying to actually say? She said, قالت إحداهما يا أبت استأجر إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. And we can learn so much from this one story. Male, female, spouse, parents, children. We see who proposed in this scenario. Was it the daughter? Was it Musa alayhi salam? No, it was Shu'aib alayhi salam himself. No, it was Shu'aib alayhi salam himself who broke all the quote-unquote barriers and proposed from the sister side. There are certain things that we see in the ummah that are not based off the deen, they're just cultural. So don't mix them as being Islamic. Do not mix them as being Islamic. Whether it comes from the subcontinent, whether it's from America, I could care less. Just because a Muslim is doing it does not make it Islamic. There are many things that Muslims do that are not religious, that are not Islamic. So we might have certain, concepts within our mind that the wedding has to be like this, or the proposal has to come like this, and I have to give this when I'm proposing, or I have to do the wedding at this location, and there has to be 10,000 people here, or the mahar has to be 40 grand. I'm saying these things because these are real life stories that I've heard. Mahar being 40 grand or more. Having 10 functions for a wedding. I don't mean to digress too much. But wedding does not become very easy when you put all these stipulations there. I understand that you hold your daughter and your son to a high regard. That's good, that's great. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ set the parameters for what needs to take place for a marriage. And when you're making it more and more difficult for the youngsters to get married, then guess what they're going to go to? You go to the high schools, you go to the colleges. I see them, I interact with the youth on a weekly basis. I teach a youth class for the past 10, 11 years. And I see the problems that they go through. And the parents come up to me when the youth are in their, late teens, and they say, "Can you, take care of the situation?" I ask, "Well, what was going on the first 17 years of his life, first 18 years of his life? You think just me having one conversation is just going to automatically somehow flip the script and fix him?" No, we have to be the parents. We have to give them the opportunity to succeed as a Muslim. Put that environment, that Islamic environment, in the household, at home, at the masjid. We as parents, that's our responsibility. But going back, we see how the Sahaba interacted with each other. I'm talking about males with females. Ummahat al-Mu'mineen with the other Sahaba. Aisha radiallahu anha taught over 3,000 ahadith behind the partition. But she was teaching. She was among some others of the believers. Why would she not? There's a narration mentioned in Bukhari that myself and the brother of Aisha, myself and the foster brother of Aisha radiallahu anha, we came and we asked her that, "Can you explain to us how the Prophet ﷺ performed ghusl?" They came to Aisha radiallahu anha and asked, "Can you explain to us how the Prophet ﷺ performed ghusl?" So she grabbed a container of water and she described to them that this is how the Prophet ﷺ did ghusl. Took the water like this and put it on his head 3 times. Okay, on this side, right side, left side. All of this was taking place, which the narration mentions. وَبَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَهَا حِجَابٌ. There was a partition there, but she was still teaching us. There was a partition there, but she was teaching us. So she demonstrated to the Sahaba and explained to them that this is how the Prophet ﷺ performed ghusl. Who would know better than Aisha radiallahu anha herself? So before the verses of hijab were revealed, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ did not have a partition when they were answering questions. However, when that verse was revealed about the hijab, that وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. That when you ask, then ask behind this partition. That there is a barrier between you and the women folk. There is a big barrier between the women and the men. And that's why where I teach at Darul Qasim College, we have that there is, an aspect of interaction there, but there is a barrier. If you come in Chicago, you can come and visit our institute, you can come visit the college. So sisters can hear the brothers, and the brothers can hear the sisters. Min wara'i hijab, behind a partition. And it's we see within Islamic history that how the interaction took place. We talked about in the beginning that the Qur'an's, with the wisdom and the lessons in the Qur'an, are timeless. Doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what ethnicity you're from, the Qur'an will still be applicable for you at that location. Be it a Muslim country or non-Muslim country, it's still going to apply. No. And you see even female scholars participating in battles, building clinics, universities, many muhaddithat narrated hadith. There is a famous muhadditha by the name of Karima al-Marwaziyya. Karima al-Marwaziyya. She was considered the best authority of Sahih Bukhari in her time. The best authority of Sahih Bukhari in her time. And there are books and books written on the level of female scholarship across Muslim history. For example, Imam Sakhawi, he has a book called Daw al-Lami', which mentions numerous prolific female scholars throughout history. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he mentions in his work Ad-Durar al-Kamina that there are, in his work, he mentions at least 170 women scholars that were known for their mastery in the different disciplines within hadith and other subjects as well. Just because you don't know of them doesn't mean that they never existed. That's on us. That's on us to learn our history. That's on us. If all we read about is LeBron James and whatever, which super team they built now. Oh, you guys might be Curry fans, sorry. I've been to Cleveland a lot. You guys are Golden State fans? Yeah. Did the Cavs beat them? I won't go there. I won't go there. 3-1, that's all I remember. Okay. So that interaction was there. Interaction was there during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, during the time of the Sahaba. They needed to interact. So how did they interact? How did they interact with the opposite gender? If you look on Eid, the Prophet ﷺ would give a special khutbah for the women folk on Eid. But keep in mind, when he would go talk with them, he would not go alone. He would take Bilal radiallahu anhu, and he would take Bilal radiallahu anhu with him. Okay, and he would accompany him while he was speaking with the opposite gender. We read that in the hadith literature. And you can go on and on about these, stories. And even if you want to take non-Muslim examples, not like we could care about it, but I'm just saying, like even if you think that it's not like Muslim thing, you see this even in non-Muslims as well. That they have this aspect, some of them do, aspect of modesty, some aspect of haya there. There was a candidate that was running for governor, and there was a female reporter that came to him, and she said that she wanted to shadow him on a 15-hour ride along for his campaign. But she said that she was denied. The candidate said that this is my truck, and in my truck there are my rules. This is my truck, and in my truck there are my rules. Now, the only person that I stay alone with is my wife. The only person I stay alone with in a location is my wife. Anytime I need to interact with the opposite gender, it's going to be in a public place. This is non-Muslims. This is a non-Muslim saying this. So what I want us to understand is you can't be afraid as Muslims to tell your non-Muslim co-workers or colleagues or boss or friends or classmates the Islamic point of view of interacting with the opposite gender. If you don't tell them, who's going to tell them? That's our job. Because it's not possible where you're not going to interact with them. You're going to have to. And to save some of the awkward conversations, maybe you could, email them from beforehand. A lot of times, especially when I was in public school teaching there, a lot of the awkward interactions would be when they would stick out their hand. Stick out their hand to shake their hand, to shake your hand. So to try to save, if I knew I was going to be meeting with the principal or meeting with the other teachers, would just send out an email beforehand. I only had to do it once. And after that, everybody knew. Whether they liked it or not, I could care less. I did my job. I told them in a respectful, kindful manner that this is the borders that my deen has set, and so be it. Every single Monday it was where all of the teachers would gather in fourth grade. When I was teaching fourth grade, all of us would gather and would have meetings after school. So as I was telling you, all female teachers. So I had to think that how can I best make up for this situation that I'm in, dealing with the opposite gender, being the only male there. There are precautions that I would think of that I would have to take. Number one, I would try to make sure that I would be on one side of the table. They might be there, and I would be sitting on my side with nobody else, maybe on the other side. Not being flirtatious with one's voice when you're speaking with the opposite gender. Never, ever being alone with the opposite gender. I don't care if you're in the library. I don't care where you are, if you're at the park. I have many youth come and tell me, I'm just going to go steady. I was like, you're not steady. Come on. Steady, yeah. Yeah, you can go steady with your male classmates too. You need to have a group project, then so be it. Do your group project at school. Do it with the other male students present. You need to interact with them, interact as much as you need to. Do your job and then leave. Not like, let's go to the movies and then let's go there and we'll watch Netflix and then, if we have some time, we'll work on the project. We know what's going to happen. No. So we have to be upfront about our Islamic values. Whether we're students at a high school, university, or we're in the corporate realm, same thing applies. The boundaries have to be set. No. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned a very simple, I think a very simple solution for us if you're kind of on the hook of what should I do and how should I interact with them? Should I just shake my hand just so they don't feel bad? Prophet ﷺ said, this is a common question that I get, about shaking the opposite gender's hand. So the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that it's better to touch a burning iron rod than touch the opposite gender. It's better that you touch a burning iron rod than touching the opposite gender. Now there are going to be times where you're going to have exceptions to the rule. You go to the doctors and things of that sort. Okay, that's not the norm though. Don't try to make that the norm. And my time's up. Last point. I think you guys are getting tired of that. Last point is this aspect of mahram and non-mahram. I never hear it, on being talked about. So let me just talk about it. Imam Kasani mentions in his work, Bada'i Sanaya, he mentions that a mahram is that individual whom you cannot marry. Okay. Either by kinship, foster relationship, or by marriage. So he lists out individuals. So as far as your kinship goes, obviously, that would include the obvious ones: mothers, daughters, grandparents, maternal aunts, and uncles, nieces, nephews. Those are the obvious ones people usually know about. Then you have the relationship through rada'a or fosterage, who they become your mahram, they become individuals whom you cannot marry because of relationship of lineage, through fostering. Then you have individuals whom marriage becomes unlawful because of marriage. Marriage becomes unlawful due to that relationship of marriage. Okay, so for example, one's wife's mother, and mother-in-law, grandmother, and everybody above. Wife's daughter from previous marriage, granddaughter, and everybody below. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about these. The wife's own son, grandson, and wa'in safara, those underneath. Stepmother, grandmother. All of these individuals, it is impermissible for one to marry. Notice I did not say a group of individuals. Cousins. Notice I didn't say cousins. Cousins are not your mahram. I will repeat that. Cousins are not your mahram. So proper hijab and proper partition needs to be there when you're interacting with your cousins. Because marriage can take place. They are not mentioned in the ayah. They are not mentioned in the hadith. Just because one doesn't plan to get married to a cousin doesn't just automatically say, oh, you can just have zero parda or zero hijab. No, that doesn't nullify the hukum. That doesn't nullify the ruling. The Prophet ﷺ married his own cousin. Who? Zainab bin Jahsh. Ali radiallahu anh married who? Ali radiallahu anh was who? In relationship to the Prophet ﷺ. He was the cousin, yeah? He was a cousin. So being the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, Ali radiallahu anh married the Prophet ﷺ's daughter. Okay? Fatima. Okay. Again, trying to put it into our mind the relationship and the boundaries that were there. So we'll wrap up with this, inshallah. Take home points. Number one is you're going to have to interact with the opposite gender. So interact with them when you have a legitimate reason to do so, and have modest interactions with them at that time. Number two is that women, they can work within their Islamic scope of practice when they can work within their Islamic scope of practice. And number three is when you are interacting with the opposite gender, is that you lower your gaze and deal with them in a sensible manner without any flirtation. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask.
Also, if the sisters have any questions, they can go on tinyurl.com/mzfamilynight, and you can ask questions there as well. Again, it's tinyurl.com/mzfamilynight. And also, the brothers can also use this as well if they want to ask any questions. and it's anonymous, and you don't have to put your name on there. So feel free to ask any questions that you have. Sometimes whenever they ask, they'll come up there. You guys don't have any questions?
I think the talk was either really good or really bad. So there's no one. Okay, good. So no questions, huh? Okay. So we don't have to force the question, then. I guess question. It's not about LeBron, is it? Okay.
For example, you're going to an elevator and there's nobody else besides the sister. What should you enter the elevator? What should you wait until she goes? How should you approach that situation?
Yeah. So the question, just so everybody can hear, is you press the button for the elevator, and there's a sister there. So should you enter it or should you not enter it? If you can wait, you wait. I mean, that would be ideal, right? If you wait, you can. If you can wait, you wait. But obviously, if you're in a situation where it takes quite some time to go on the elevator and there's a long line, then obviously you go and you lower your gaze and you deal with the situation like how you need to deal with the situation. You mind your own business, and you're not going to be sleeping in the elevator, right? So you're there for maybe like 30 seconds, maximum 1 minute. And then khalas, bismillah, you're done with it. So that's I'll leave it up to that. If you can avoid the situation, it's fine. But I think we have at least that much higher, which for 30 seconds we can do a lot of bustle at that time and go on the elevator. I don't see any issue there. I think there was a question online, but what do if someone wants to marry you from a long distance away? How do you go about how to not contact when you love that person? So long distance. How do you do? So marriages, as far as marriages go, you obviously get individuals involved who can make this process easier for you, because yes, obviously there is an aspect of knowing who you're getting married to. That's there. That's even in the deen, right? That the Prophet ﷺ said that he encouraged that you see your spouse before getting married. That's there. Now, how far are we taking that you see them? Okay. And it's not that you start going on like 10 dates, and then you say that the dates are at the library, or there is somebody there. You know when you've crossed that line. That's why you have your parents. That's why you have your elder individuals from the community that need to come in and assist the individuals who are trying to get married. Okay. So if they are long distance, then if you plan to get married, what's the point in delay, even if it's long distance? Then you see, are they serious? You talk to their individual, the brides, whether it's the wali of the bride or the lady side, and you talk to the wali of the male side, and if they're ready to talk to their parents, I'm assuming young folks, if they're ready to talk to their parents, then you know that they're serious. But if they're not ready to do that, then you're just wasting time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting her time. It's just a bunch of waste of time. Okay. So just to save yourself from sin, number one, and to save time, you see if they're even ready to talk to their parents. That's how I would take that. So, question, but I got deleted. Oh, no, here it is. I just started college and I moved to, okay, I won't say the place. How to modestly talk to the opposite gender to get a wife. I have found one. Okay. Yes. So again, same answer I would mention. Just like how we see the Sahaba, just like how we saw in the story of Musa alayhi salam, that's where the parents are there for. That's the parents' job. That you bring up these difficult, quote unquote, difficult conversations with them. Because you're not going to go hide behind and get married without their consent anyways. You're obviously going to ask them to be there. You're obviously going to want their du'as. You're going to want that barakah of the parents there. So you go through the parents. And if not, if the parents aren't there, then obviously, again, as I was mentioning, you go through local leaders that you trust, and you go through them, inshallah, and you can make this a proposal in a haya, in a modest manner. If a woman has a male doctor and there is no female doctor available, what should a woman do and what should she do? Again, this is going to be the exception to the rule. Okay, where a woman has to go to a male doctor. Obviously, ideally, you would want a male to go to a male doctor and a female to go to a female doctor. But in certain situations, number one, you may not even have that option to go to the same gender doctor, or number two, they may not even be qualified. So you want to go to somebody that has the qualifications and experience. Qualifications should just be they're male or they're female. I've seen too many situations like that, being a health coach and dealing with a lot of practitioners. Just because they're of a gender doesn't make them, a good fit for you. So you have to see who would be a proper fit in regards to, which situation you're in. So completely fine, if that is the case. But if you have qualified female doctors there, then obviously you would be going there. You should go there. And it's probably more comfortable for you anyways to be able to deal with the same gender now. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's you can simply just take your mahram with you and do that. That would be great. That would save a lot of awkwardness as well from the interaction. But I'm just talking about like worst case scenario. If say that wasn't even the case, if there was no male mahram there, then even then, you're not gonna just I have this disease. Oh, I can't see the male doctor. I'll just die. That's not how it works. Okay. A lot of questions, mashallah. Okay. So process, let me see if I can combine some of these questions. We went from 0 questions to 10. Okay. So the process of getting married, I think we kind of talked about that, right? That you go through the parents, you go through community leaders to kind of ease that process in. so you don't have to directly interact with that opposite gender because emotions are high. It's hard, it's difficult controlling your emotions when you want to get married to someone. You're not going to be thinking properly. Okay, you're not going to be thinking properly. So you need individuals from, a third party to be able to help you think the situation through. Otherwise, you're going to fall into issues later on. So rather go through the process with patience, through community leaders and your parents, then inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah there. And then obviously, don't forget the step of istikhara. Istikhara is when you're seeking consultation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any important affair. So how do you perform istikhara? Istikhara is simply performed by praying 2 rak'at. And then after those 2 rak'at, you read the dua of istikhara, Allahumma inni astakhiruka bi'ilmik wa astaqdiruka biqudratik, all the way until the end. And in there, you think in those 2 spots of the dua, whether this individual is good, and the hadith mentions whether this individual is good for me in the dunya, is good for me in the akhirah, then فَيَسِّرْهُ لِي وَتَقَبَّلْهُ مِنِّي, then, oh Allah, make it easy for me. It's a beautiful dua. That, oh Allah, make it easy for me and facilitate for this to happen. And if this situation is not good for me, if this sister or brother is not good for me, then make them go far away, or make this situation go far away from me, and do not put me into that situation. So istikhara is a very important consultation that you make with that you're seeking dua from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you may or may not see a dream. That's when you're go to your shuyukh and get your dream interpreted, inshallah. Inshallah is going to be interpreting a lot of dreams. Okay. I have an assignment where I have to debate with 3 girls, 1 girl is on my team, and we are debating against the other. All right, so here's the question. I have an assignment where I have to debate with 3 girls, 1 girl is on my team, and we are debating against the other 2. What should I do? Beat them in the debate. Beat them in the debate. What do you want me to say? It's a debate, it's for school. Bismillah, khalas, do it for school, and then that's all it is. Keep it at school. Do you have to treat your cousin the same as non-family women? Can you joke and interact with them in a familial way? Well, as far as mahram and non-mahram goes, the hukum is clear, right? We talked about the hukum being clear. So, you are going to obviously interact with them probably more than you do with non-relatives, but keep that in mind, that the interaction needs to be in a as needed basis as well. Okay, me and my cousin have been talking for a while. How do I tell my uncle without making it awkward? Again, a lot of these solutions, this is what I was talking about. You bring it up to your parents before it's too late. They're going to find out about it. And your parents, they're not dumb. They were going to find out about it. Some, these things are getting pretty high tech. Huh? They can see a lot of things that you do, right? And they can manage a lot of things that you do. They know where you are. They know who you're talking to. When we were growing up, I didn't have a cell phone until I started working on it. So if somebody called our house and they wanted to talk to me, everybody knew who was calling the house before the phone got to me. Okay, so you have to be very clear, because there could be 3 other people on the phone while I'm talking on the phone. Right? Could be 3 other people on the phone. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, more important than what is it called? Being scared of your parents, or being scared of your uncle, is having that fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Alim. And when you put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, وَتَخْشَى النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ أَحَقُّ أَن تَخْشَىٰ, you're not going to fear any people. You're not going to be scared of anybody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is first in your heart, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up doors for you because you're making the situation easier for you. Because you're putting the deen first. Once you put deen first, then things will start falling into place. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, when you're looking for a spouse, and we'll end with this inshallah. When you're looking for a spouse, that what do you look for? Yes, you look at beauty, you look at lineage, you look at wealth. But then he said deen. And then he said, he reiterated, فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ. That he said deen, and then he emphasized again that make sure deen is number one priority. Deen in your future spouse is the number one priority. Because they are going to be the individuals that will be with you throughout the day. They will be the individuals who will be with your kids throughout the day, inshallah. And they will be teaching your kids Islam when you're not there. So what type of individual would you want that is able to continue that legacy and continue that lineage of Islam, that relationship of Islam throughout your lineage? This is what we need to look at. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakallah khair for these beneficial advices by Sheikh Mawlāna Asif Uddin. And inshallah now we can all go to the gym and have pizza, inshallah. Pizza is very much.
That pizza is ready.